when you go to the worker bee careers on this chart, and when the worker emerges after that 21 days, they don't go out and fly and do work. They don't bring in nectar like that. So day 1 and 2, they're cleaning themselves and keeping the brood warm. And I talked to the kids at the fairs and so on, and I asked them, what do you do in the morning? You know, you get up in the morning, what are you supposed to do? Well, fix the bed. You know, clean your room, make it tidy before you go to school, and so on. And that's what the worker bee is doing. So day 1 and 2, they just clean cells and keep the brood warm. Then they feed the older larvae, and feed older larvae because the glands that they produce royal jelly and so on haven't developed yet. So they feed the older larvae. Now, day 6, they feed the younger larvae because now they have the royal jelly that glands do that. Until about day 11, and then they produce wax for building the comb. They take in honey, or you want to see the prettiest wax. When you get your bees in packages, and you put that sugar syrup on top, the wax will be pure white. There's no pollen in it, so it's not going to be colored. It'll be pure white. It's the prettiest stuff we've ever seen. But they take that sugar syrup in, or honey, and then change it chemically to a wax, and the wax glands are down here in their abdomen, and on the legs, on the legs, there's a spur, and they can reach down that spur and take that wax scale off of the outside of the abdomen, bring it up, pick it to the mouth, chew it, and then form the cells. And the cells will 6 sides and so on. All right. Now, then of course they start transporting food within the hive, because when the worker comes in with the nectar, it has to be changed to honey. Now, we talked about this earlier about the college president here in Wisconsin said it was bee poop. Well, it's not bee poop. It comes from the other end. And there's a honey stomach where they extract the water. Making honey is quite similar to making maple syrup. Maple syrup is what, 40 to 1? 1 part sugar to 40 part water. Nectar coming in is about the same. That's why there's so many trips. I'm not going to go through the trivia, but there's an awful lot of what the lifetime of a bee is. What is it? Lifetime of a bee is it a teaspoon of honey that they make? The lifetime of a honeybee? Right. In the lifetime of a honeybee, how much honey do they make? Is it less than a spoon?
Yeah, like 1/16 of a teaspoon of honey in their lifetime.
Yeah, okay. So, not very much. Right?
And then you get, and then in the hive to make like 100, better than 100 pounds.
Yep. Think of that. Building a flag, then guarding the entrance. And you have all kinds of intruders coming in. And these, they recognize. One bee can go to another hive if it has a load of nectar. If it doesn't, and it's in another hive, it can't enter. It'll be stopped. So, usual. Okay. So that can be good. All right. Then, and the rest of their life, they go about visiting the flowers, and of course, pollinating flowers, bringing them the nectar. All right? So that's the So they're going, shaking, you know, and trying to keep warm. But they eventually get quite old. So what happens is they rotate to the inside, and the inside rotate to the outside. So you know, you don't always have to have that big fur coat on. You get warm after a while. All right. So there's a cycling in the inside the hive when it's extremely. All right. Queens live 2 to 5 years. So about the meeting, and we're 15 to 20 drones, sometimes even more. Male dies. The queen in her lifetime, she, again, we say mates once, but when she mates, the sperm is stored, and as the time goes on, it's less. But eventually, she runs out of sperm, so she's no good anymore. She can't mate. So what happens? Well, this is where swarming comes in. And so at that particular time, the queen is always giving off pheromones. The bees are licking her. She doesn't go to the bathroom. They lick her and get rid of the waste and so on. But they're licking her all the time. That does one thing, keep the queen clean. But and also, the queen is giving off this pheromone. A pheromone is a chemical that is produced by one organism and then is picked up by another of the same species usually. We have pheromones. We take a bath, use the perfume and so on, but if we didn't, we'd be able to smell those females every so often. Okay? So the pheromone has an effect upon the other of the species. Now, the queen has that pheromone. She gives this off. That keeps the ovaries from the other workers from developing, so they don't lay the eggs while the queen is healthy. When the queen is about to expire, and the rain and all that sort of thing, the pheromone is very low. Now, the workers pick up that sense that pheromone isn't that available. So now they'll do one several things. If there's eggs or larvae available, it has to be 1 or 2 day larvae, so it's a very short span there. They'll take an egg and enlarge the cell, and then they'll flood it with royal jelly and make a new queen. But what happens if the queen has expired or she doesn't produce any more pheromone? You got workers there, and they're not getting the pheromone, and there aren't eggs and larvae to make a new queen. What happens is the workers start laying eggs. The workers will lay 1 or 2 eggs a day. And it's kind of funny in the cell. Very often, the workers will lay 1 or 2 eggs in the cell. That doesn't work very well. 1 egg in the cell, not 2 or 3 or any other number. So the workers will start laying eggs. Every single egg will develop into a male, okay, or drone. Right? Every one of these are male. So the hive is really going to be no good. Now, if that goes on very long, you can't introduce a queen. It just doesn't work. I don't know why. It just doesn't work. You want to make sure you get it. That's why when you work with the hives and you're working, I saw a video on YouTube or whatever, and the fellow was sitting and he had a hive beside him, and he started taking frames on the opposite side of the hive, the super. And so he'd take the frame out, and then he'd look at it and see the queen. He'd start on the outside, and then he'd set that one aside, he didn't see the queen. So he'd take the next one. He always had the sun over his shoulder and so on. And the reason he did that, when you pull those frames out, the queen would be on the side that he is, because, you know, it's taken from the dark. And so you find the queen on your side, usually. Not always. Okay? So there's little tricks like that. You never start in the middle of the super and pull out the frame. You always start on the outside. Always start on the outside. because if the queen is there, you want to crush it. And so you want to find her and so on. And that's one of the reasons for marking the queen and so on. But I'll stop there. There are a number of dances that bees do. And okay, why are we talking about dances? We're talking about communication. They don't speak, you can call them all kinds of names, you use any kind of language you want, you use German, French, whatever. They don't understand. Not Norwegian, North Korean. So, and they can be of the same race, but they have to communicate. And their way of